everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I can't believe that it's another Monday. How does that happen? I suppose it comes around every 7 days, doesn't it? And it just catches me unawares. It's like every other day in the week, except it's Monday. And guess what happens on a Monday? Yes, it's Making It Monday. And I can't believe we're on project 19 already. Where's all that time gone? I probably say the same thing every week. So welcome to everybody on Facebook. I can see lots and lots of people already there. You must have been waiting. You must have been waiting to push the button. And it's so lovely that you could join me. It's absolutely super. And we've got people from YouTube as well. So we're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. Oh my gosh, technology at its best. Makes me happy. So it's just lovely to see you all. I'm really pleased you could join me this evening. It's such a great start to the week, isn't it? It's just the tonic we need to actually sort of, I don't know, kickstart our week. And I know it's a Monday and not a weekend, but I'm sure everybody can find, I don't know, half an hour to stitch something with me on a Monday night. Actually, I don't know what's on the TV on a Monday. I suppose because I've been doing these now for quite a long time, I sort of lose track what is on TV. Oh, I can see all your lovely comments on there. Thank you so much. Sometimes, yes, sometimes the devices don't work like we want them to, do they? But all I can say is this: I'm always here on Lizzy Curtis, Facebook or YouTube, 7 p.m. UK time every Monday for Making It Monday. And I think it's going rather well, don't you? The latest pattern obviously is there for you, so go ahead and get that pattern. If you've already got it, maybe you've already cut it out. Maybe you've already got it, you've cut all your pieces out and you're ready to stitch along with me, because all I have done is cut the fabric and glue the layers together basically, but we can talk about it when we get there. So let's have a look. Oh, TV is rubbish, somebody says. Well, no surprise there. Oh my word. I must admit, excuse me, I'm going to start coughing now. Abigail, my daughter, did a Facebook Live last night at 8 o'clock because she was home alone. She had the kids there. She had the dog there. But she was home alone. And she thought, you know what, I'm going to do a Facebook Live and do some stitching with everybody. And she had, I don't know, about 270 people watch her stitching. Obviously, nobody likes Top Gear on a Sunday night, do they? Because they're all watching Abigail, which is absolutely super. And the same applies with me. I have you all here. Look, I've got 270 of you already. And that includes YouTube as well as Facebook. So we'll keep an eye on the numbers. Oh, we're banged up to 310. So I'm going to have to get going now, aren't I? Because this is serious stuff. So let's have a look. Just say a few hellos to YouTube viewers. We've got Isabel. You're flashing past my screen quite quickly. We've got Abigail there and Leanna. That's lovely. We've got Karen. And also, let me see if I can see somebody from YouTube, because it's always nice to mention YouTube. It's difficult. Oh, there's Jenny, there's Christelle, Deanna, and we've got lots of people from the USA as well, which is super. 3 p.m. here in the afternoon. That's not bad, is it? That's actually quite a nice time to sit down and do some sewing. So yeah, lots and lots of people watching, which is fantastic. So look, we better get going, hadn't we? So, 4 minutes in, this has got to be a world record. I've downloaded the pattern for myself, and as you know, it always comes with a front cover, which obviously I haven't got here. But I'm thinking about this, and maybe I'm going to stop doing that front cover, because we're now doing it like this, where it tells you what the project is. I know it's a bit small on my screen. There we go. It tells you what the project is, project 19. It tells you what it's called, which in this case is called Poppy. Isn't it a sweet little name for a sweet little pouch? It's the dinkiest little thing. It's absolutely fun. I've seen loads of these made already. If you're not part of the Making It Monday Facebook group, you have to put Making It Monday ! Right? And then you find it. I don't know, it's something about Facebook. It won't find it if you don't put the exclamation mark in. I know. Tricky. But anyway, go and join the group, because loads of people have already made it and put some pictures on there for you to see. So there we are. Oh, hello Rennie, hello Kirsty, hello Leanna, hello Helen. How lovely to all see you. For those of a certain age in the UK, the funniest thing on TV at the moment is the rerun of Yes Minister on BBC4. Oh my goodness me. Well, I saw a rerun of The Vicar of Dibley the other day. It was amazing. Anyway, Poppy is our pattern. And obviously we've got the pattern piece at the back there. There we go. I'll show you that. And you've got a very sort of simplistic pictures and pattern and instructions, because I rely on the video for you to sort of see how it's done, okay? And it's usually quite easy. The great thing about the Making It Monday projects, I'm going to keep my instructions close by so I don't go off piste, because I do go off piste. The great thing about the Making It Monday projects is they can be quite small, because I want you to use up your scraps, get in those drawers and have a dive down and see what you've got in there that will go nicely together. And they're usually quite functional and practical and quite useful, even though they're diddy. So this one has got a lobster clasp, a swivel clasp on it, so you can actually hook it onto maybe the inside of a bag. Maybe you're out dog walking, you want to hook it onto your coat, you know, if you've got a zip you can hook it onto your coat or your pocket or wherever you want it to be. But it's quite a nice little make. And of course, if you're not dog walking, maybe maybe this is for your lipstick and maybe a little bottle of perfume or something like that. I know you're always going to find a use for it. And to be perfectly honest, it's quite a sweet little thing just to have out on the side and admire, because it's your handiwork. So there we are. Let's get cracking. I'm just going to have a look. Oh, hello, Karen. Hello, Caroline, and Leslie there from Wiltshire on YouTube. So welcome, Leslie. So lots and lots of people. So we'd better get cracking, as I said. So I'll do a lot of it on the side camera as I normally do, and we've got camera in camera, so you can see me on the front. I shall wave, and you'll see quite a bit from the front, but I'm going to quilt it because that's in the pattern. Now that will take, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. So I'll probably pop to the front again just because it's a better view. Well, maybe it's not, I don't know. So let's just move those cameras across. So there we go. And I'll get ready to move the front one back again if we need to. So there we are there. So I'm waving at the front and you'll see me on the side as well, which is fantastic. And as I said to you just before, that this is such a lovely little make. It's so diddy, it's so sweet, and with the quilting, it actually makes it quite a nice firm structure. Now look, I have lined it, but all I've done is I've used my pinking shears to snip away the seams. I actually got my Benina out so I can do zigzag tonight. I can treat myself and do a zigzag. But it's okay, and I think you could actually line it so you don't see the raw edges inside, but I'm okay with that. I mean, sometimes we just want to do a bit of stitching, and we've got a bit of tilde inside, and we've got a bit of tilde on the outside, so it's all super pretty. So there we are. Now, the first thing you need to do, and I'll just pop it there, I'll keep it to there so you can just see it in the distance. What you need to do is get yourself a piece of fabric. Now in the pattern it tells you what size, and we'll cut into it in a little while. So there's my rectangle, good to go, and I'm going to start drawing my lines on here. Now you've got to decide at some point which is your lining, if you like, and which is your outer. I mean, that's obviously my outer, but certainly when I made this one, I left it right to the last minute to choose which fabric was going to be inside and which fabric was going to be outside. So this, I think, is pretty obvious which is which. So I'm going to draw my lines on there with a heat erasable pen. Now look, you mustn't be worried about a heat erasable pen, because we're going to stitch on those lines. So if you're using dark fabric, you're going to be covering up your lines with your stitches, and if you do get a slight ghosting, do you know what, you're going to be stitching on it. So as long as you stitch on your lines, you'll be fine. And to be perfectly honest, if you're using dark fabric, I'd be using a chalk pen anyway, not a regular sort of heat erasable pen like I've got here. This is just a friction pen. You can pick them up in most places. So we'll start off straight away. Now I just kind of bung my ruler down any old place. I know perhaps there should be angles, but I'm not into exact. I'm into let's get it done. So I'm going to draw the lines and then I'm going to hold it up to the camera so you can see what I've done. Let's just move that pattern piece out the way. So I've drawn one line. You can just about see it. So what I need to do is I need to put my 1/2 inch mark on my ruler here against that line and then draw another one, and that will give me my 1/2 inch. And I shall just keep on doing that until the whole thing is covered in lines. Now, the other thing you may well have is a guide, a foot guide to go on your machine that will actually sort of give you, what can I call it? I always call it like a furrow, but a little groove that will follow the lines for you, and you can fit those onto your machine. And some walking feet have these quilting guides as well, and they're really useful. So if you've got one of those, get it out, get it on your machine, and then you'll be able to just not draw the lines and just use your foot. So you can see it doesn't take too long. Make sure you've got a fairly decent pen. Mine is a bit dodgy, I have to say. And please don't worry about using a heat erasable pen, especially on a project like this. And as long as you can stitch in a straight line and keep to the lines, you'll be fine. So let me just do these lines. I know you can't see very much. I'll see if I can turn it. So this is the line I've just drawn, and I'm just moving my ruler over a 1/2 inch. So you'll see me in the front kind of squidged a little bit over to the side. So that's the joy of you seeing me on both angles. So you can see I've just drawn the line and moved my ruler over a 1/2 inch. And this is a super ruler, isn't it? It's got hearts all over it. It's Creative Grids, super. So there's my first set of lines. Okay, so you can see quite clearly. But what you need to do is to make sure that your ruler sits dead on the line when you draw across. So look, if I hold that up, let me just get it straight. So let me do it without getting too much flash. So can you see the 7-inch mark there? Well, that black line is following the line that I've drawn. So that's where I'm going to put my line to get my diagonals, okay? So that is absolutely parallel, and this is like a real good 90-degree. So that's how you get these lines absolutely square on, okay? And if your lines are more than 1/2 inch, oh gosh, don't worry about it again. Just have fun. Maybe you only want to do inch. I mean, I kind of set myself a bit of a challenge doing 1/2 inch, I must admit. But I don't mind having a challenge. But the nice thing is we can have a chat. And I want you to chat to all the ladies and gents that are in the group. Go and say hello. Find out what they're doing. Find out if they've been stitching today. Just go and say hello. Send them a flower, something like that if you can. Because I think it's nice if we all get along. So I'm just going to finish drawing my lines and then we'll start stitching. And like I said, I've got my banana today. I've got a couple of bananas, and this is a little one which is really quite sweet. In fact, I've got 3 bananas. Sorry, I lost count there for a minute. One's really old. One's really posh, which does the most fantastic embroidery, and then my little workhorse, which I shall use tonight. So look, there we are. How long did that take? I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. But there's my grid. Look, so quite a bit of stitching. So so what I'll do is I'll lengthen my stitch to 3, and that will make sure that I'm stitching quickly because it's a long stitch. Okay, if you want to do it kind of like traditional quilting, I would make your stitches really small actually. But I'm going to do mine big because I want to do this quite quick. So you might want to do the same, okay? Especially if you're following along, okay? So I'll pop it under the machine, and I've got my zipper foot here. So I'm going to try and not lose it. If I lose it, we'll be in trouble. And bring right in so you can see. And then when I come back to the front camera, I'll move it out a bit. Now ideally you're going to start in the corner and work your way across, okay? Probably the best thing to do. If you want to start in the middle, start in the middle. Now, just to save a bit of time and cutting threads and breaking my threads, starting again with the new threads, I'm just going to stitch this line here. You can just about see where I'm pointing. I'm going to stitch this line here, and then I'm going to stitch down my piece and then up. And before I forget, I meant to say that I've got my layers. So my layers are one layer of my outer fabric. I've got a layer of wadding or batting, which is 80/20. It's a nice thin wadding, which I really love to use. You could use soya, bamboo, that type of thing. It's the same sort of thickness. And then I've got my lining fabric. So it's all one piece. I've stuck it together with fabric adhesive, okay? So let's just up the stitch length then, as I said I was going to. So we'll put it on 3. And I'm just holding my threads. I don't know about you, but right from an early age, I was always taught to hold your threads. And of course, the machines in those days, you did, but you don't have to anymore, do you? Really? Seriously? But I still do it. So look, I'm just going to work my way. You can see what I'm doing, and I'm doing it slowly. You know what I could do with the new needle? Anybody got a new needle? So I'm going right up to the edge. I mean, you've got 1/4 inch seam allowance, so just think about perhaps that's your marker if you like. So I'm going slowly because I want you to see what I'm doing, and then I'll go to the front and we're just finishing off there. So I'm coming down my work, I'm turning my work, and I'm just making sure my needle hits the line, okay? And if I zoom in a little bit, perhaps you'll be able to see. So hang fire while I zoom in. And, whoop, wrong way. Okay, let me bring it forward. There we go. So you can see I'm coming down to this part here. I'm going to travel along, and then I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to come up this line and do the same. So I'm kind of zigzagging up and down my piece, okay? Only because I don't want to keep breaking my threads. If I had my machine, my normal Juki machine, then I would keep breaking my threads, okay? So let's go to the front, and then we can just chat for 5 minutes. And it's not very often I actually sort of show the front when I'm working, because I want you to see everything that I'm doing. But I just want to get this done. I've got my needle down, which means that I can pivot and turn, and I'm just following the lines. And because it's a longer stitch, I've got it on 3, it means I'm going quickly. But you don't have to do that. I'm doing this for your benefit. And to be honest, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's been ages since I've used this machine. Really, I'm serious. How long? Maybe Christmas? Maybe Christmas. Oh, mustn't talk about Christmas. Too early, too late, whichever way you look at it. So, if you're stitching along, that would be super. If you're part of the Making It Monday Facebook group, then please post your pictures after the event. That would be amazing. I do love to see them, and I try to see every single one. Sometimes I miss 1 or 2. Whoops. Let's move that. It jumped. I got my foot on the foot control. It jumped. But not very often. Not very often I miss them. So let's just whiz along. Otherwise we'll be here all night just doing lines. Well, that reminds me of school days. Has anybody done lines at school? I must be better in another life type of thing. I must not be rude to the teacher. That, you know, lines. Has anybody done them? I don't think I did. I think I'd have remembered. I was a bit of a goody two-shoes, I must admit, at school. I'm a bit like now, I don't like upsetting people. I'm frightened to death. So you can see there's a lot of stitching, a lot of prep work just for this little purse. And you think, is it worth it? I think it is. I think it makes a difference. And it's just a nice thing to do. And also, it's great at practicing your straight stitching. It really is. And I remember, I must have a look to see. Oh, Gillian says she remembers doing lines. Debbie says, yes, I did loads. Debbie, that's so naughty. Oh dear. Oh gosh. So Hayley says there was one teacher who loved giving lines. Shirley says definitely. Okay. I can tell what we've hit a sensitive subject. If either of my two daughters say they did lines, I shall be speaking to you after school. They're in their 30s. Well, one's in their 40s. But we said about that the better. So they wouldn't have told me, would they? They would have kept that to themselves. Okay, so there's one half done. So you can tell, just taking my time. So I think that's okay. What I'll do is I'll do the other side and then I'll show you on the side camera. So have we got any more? Oh, Catherine says she used to write her lines on the bus going home from school. So your mum didn't know? I see. Tell what sort of kid you were. Sensible. Oh dear. Yeah. Ah, those were the days. When I started school, I suppose I'd be about 4 or 5. We still had the wooden desks with the ink wells, and we didn't have a quill. It wasn't. Well, I wasn't that old or young, but we had. What would it be? It'd be like a wooden handle with a metal nib. Now, which way am I going? I'm going to lose track. I'm going to go over the same lines I've done here. Yeah, I had, it was like a wooden handle with a metal nib, and we seriously had to dip the nib into the ink. It wasn't very long. It was. Sounds like something out of the Ark. I suppose we went on to using like biros or something, or pencil, I don't know. Can't remember. Yeah. Gosh, and you never ever wanted to go in front of the headmaster. By golly. Actually, I would have been so frightened, because I was just like I say, I was too. I keep forgetting which line I'm on. I'd be too upset if I'd made somebody cross with me. Oh, I hated that. Yeah. Right, so we're halfway across that second sweep, and like I said, you might think, oh gosh, it's really not worth the effort. It really is good practice for you, especially if you're new to stitching, because it's just that continuous up and down straight lines, but it also gives your fabric a beautiful bit of texture. It's very, quilting, especially this small, is very tactile. And this is why the pouch, when you feel it, it feels nice because of that quilting. And if you only want to do inch quilting, that's fine, do that. But the half an inch, just for me, just makes it, that's all. So, whoops, nearly done. I'll just speed up a little bit. I've just got a little bit more to do. So let's have a look. See, Christine says, we had pens like that. The boys used to put blotting paper in the inkwell, and when you put the pen in, the ink would break the nib. Oh no! That's what boys did. They thought it was so funny, didn't they? Oh dear. Fun and games. It's lovely to see the stories, isn't it? Read them when you have a minute. Go back over the comments and read them. And if you're on YouTube, I'm sure. Oh, Jenny says she hasn't sewn for 40 years. Jenny's on YouTube. Jenny, come on now, get that sewing machine out. Actually, even if your sewing machine is 40 years old, give it a good clean, a good oil, get some scrap fabric. It'll be as good as new, I'm sure. You might need to adjust the tension, put a new needle in. Apart from that, give it a go. I can't remember how old mine is. My oldest one is probably about 40. But I must admit, I don't use it anymore. Only if I want to do monograms. Very good for monograms. Okay, so let's have a quick look on the side camera. I'll bring it right in so you can see. And let's have a look. There you go. The light's not brilliant, so I do apologise. But you can see where my blue lines are. And you can, I think you can see the texture. And if I do it this way, there we go. You can see the texture of that. So it is worth the effort. That looks really nice. I can see it on camera. I'm admiring my own work, guys. How terrible is that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give that a quick iron because I want to take the blue lines off. And then we're going to cut into it. Now, let the cutting in... Oh no, I'll make the loops first. I better go by the pattern. Otherwise, I'll get myself confused. Shirley says she has a 1953 Singer Featherweight, and I use it in the caravan when we can. Well, when we can use the caravan. It's lovely, isn't it, to have something that's special for somewhere else, like a holiday home, or if you're lucky, have a caravan, or if you go and stay with somebody regular. It's nice to have your own bits and pieces already there, so you don't have to take them with you everywhere. So there is, in fact, I'll leave the iron out because we're going to iron the tabs next. So there is my little bit of cross hatching there. Oh, you can't see. Let's just change the camera so we can see. So you can see it's not perfect by any means, but by the time you've made the bag up, it'll be absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. Really lovely. And it gives it that lovely, lovely texture that, like I say, you'll be able to feel when you make the little pouch up. So let me put that to one side. And what I'm going to do, I'm sorry, I keep flicking back from one to the other. And what I'm going to do is go back to the side camera because we're going to iron the little tabs. Okay, I'm just going to make sure I've called them tabs, just so you know what I'm talking about. Yes, 2 tabs, 3 inches by 2. And these are the little ones here. So let's just get a few bits out of the way so we're not looking so cluttered. So 2 little pieces there. Give them an iron. And I always do this the same way. So we fold into the middle and press, even if it's tiny like this, I do. So you press it in half. So we'll press this one in half as well. Going across, there we go. And so I'll fold it in half. Now that fold gives me the line to bring the sides up. Okay, so I'm going to open it up. And you can see I've got a lovely crease going down the centre. So this outside edge is going to the middle, to that centre line, that folded line. Okay, and this is going to be the same. So I'm just folding that in. So those raw edges are going to meet in the middle. There we go. So it never stays put unless you steam it. There's no point. It's just a little tab. So then fold it in half again, and that gives you a 1/2 inch tab. You could give that a nice press because we're going to machine that in a second. Diana says the quilting feels like Bosal now. Well, yes, it gives you that structured feeling. And the great thing about doing the quilting is that it makes something a little bit more rigid. So if, like me, I don't particularly like foam, I must admit, Bosal, Legacy, gosh, there's all sorts, isn't there, different brands. Then this is an alternative, okay? But what it means is, I'll just give you a little bit of advice here, if you like. Let's get rid of the iron. Is if you do want to make a piece of fabric like this, which is quite structured, what you could do is to layer it up as I've done there, and on the back you could use a thinner fabric. You could use a poly cotton, you could use a calico muslin, that type of thing, where you've got the layers, because the layers help you give that depth. You could quilt with just the outer fabric and the wadding, but I quite like the fact that you've got the 3 layers. And then treat that as one piece of fabric, which is obviously what we're doing tonight. Abigail says, nice mat. Thank you, Abigail, for my nice little mat. So you could make your whole fabric like this and then treat it as one piece of fabric and use some separate fabric for lining. So therefore you've got that structure that like I've forgotten the name, the lady said about it feels like Bosal, okay? Really feels like Bosal. So it's a good thing to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stitch up my little tabs, both sides, this one and that one. I'm going to put a little swivel clip on one, I'm going to fold it in half, put a little swivel clip on one and leave that one plain. But I'll bring my machine in so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. I wonder if I can come in just a little bit closer. So I do apologise for all this camera work going on tonight, but I want you to see a little bit closer what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got one of my little tabs, really tiny, isn't it? And I would start stitching 1/4 inch away from the end. Sometimes when you're stitching little pieces of fabric like this, sometimes you lose the end in the workings of your machine, okay? You could start off with a scrap piece of fabric and then stitch it, but I would start about 1/4 inch in. I've got my stitch length still on 3, which is fine because it's a decorative stitch, it's a top stitch. So I'm coming right down to the bottom. I'm hoping you can see. And get down to the bottom. I'm going to put my needle in, pivot, turn. Now this is where it could easily go under your machine. It depends on the feed dogs of your machine half the time and the foot that you're using. So there's one. I haven't got a cutter on this machine, which I miss. I really miss. And you could of course chain piece. If you are an experienced stitcher, you'll probably be shouting at me and saying, Lizzy, why didn't you just chain piece? Because not everybody knows what a chain piece is. And if I suddenly did it and I didn't explain, which sometimes I can do, you'd wonder what I was doing. But a chain piece means that I'd finish stitching this little piece and then I could stitch the second little piece. And you're chaining your pieces along, okay? Nothing special. But if you're not so confident about things like that, then you just do what I'm doing. There's no right and a wrong. And there's plenty of people that will tell you that there is. Don't take any notice of them. Tell them you'll set Lizzy on to. A stitch keeper, Hazel, yes. So many people have different things they call it, and somebody called it a donkey the other day. I mean, the poor donkey, I'm just, it's horrendous, isn't it, using a donkey? Poor thing. Anyway, so trim your ends, make it nice and neat. Okay, so we've got 2 little tabs here. Okay, it's handy that they're white and they're on a white machine, but there you go, 2 little tabs. So one of them, I'm going to loop my swivel clip through and I'm just going to fold it and I'm going to stitch it across the top there. Okay, so if I bring it where you can see it a little bit better, you're getting a great front view here, aren't you? So you can see what I have to do. So I'm going to stitch those together there and then I'm going to get my foot of my machine as close as I can to the hardware and stitch there just to keep that in place. It saves it sort of moving and sliding up and down. So let's just get that stitched. And it's a funny old thing, because I'm so used to my Juki. I'm feeling nervous with this machine. Isn't that daft? And what I'm going to do is just go back on myself and then just cut my threads. And I will cut my threads. And then I'm going to stitch just here, just to keep that hardware in place. Okay, I'm just going to stitch there. I mean, obviously I can't get very near. I mean, I could put my zipper foot on. And I'm just going to do a few stitches backwards and forwards, just to hold that in place. There we are. And if you've got a machine that cuts your threads, oh my gosh, it's revolutionary. Revolutionary. I love it. Yeah, that would be on my top priority if I had to replace another machine. So all I've done is I've stitched there, and that's holding that in place now, nice and secure. Can we see your machine, Mum? It's Kafe. Oh, under here. Yep. Hold on. Ooh, there we go. It's actually, I made it for my dining room table, and it hasn't left here, because you can see this is where you're going to put your cutlery, but it keeps this mat clean, and I can slide the machine on and off quite easily with it. But isn't that pretty? Yeah, nice bit of Kafe. I was never a fan of Kafe, actually. Not the man, the fabric. So with the other one, I am now. With the other one, I'm just pinching the two together, and I'm just going to stitch across there. Again, I'm just going to do a couple of little stitches, and then I'm just going to come back on myself. There we go. Nothing wild or extravagant going on here. And then cut our threads. There we go. I hope I've got enough thread in my bobbin. You know what? I think I'm on bobbin roulette. Has anybody played that game? Isn't it awful? Bobbin roulette. Oh my gosh. Right. So while I've got you on the side, this is the bit, if you haven't done already, this is where we cut our pattern out. So there's our two little tabs there ready to go. I've got a zip. I make my zip longer than I need because it's going to go along here. So you'll always see why I'm going to do that, because it just helps. It gets your zip slider out of the way. If you're a new stitcher, it's absolutely the way to go. Okay, so now I'm going to put my pattern. This is the only time I use the pattern, is I'm going to put my pattern over the top. Okay, so Hayley says she lost the bobbin race by 2 inches this afternoon. How frustrating is that? Right, so you're going to put the pattern over the top. Oh, Jenny says she can't remember if her sewing machine does a zigzag, let alone anything fancy. Listen, Jenny, the machine that I regularly use, especially on my my Facebook Lives, my YouTube tutorials, all that sort of thing, I use a Juki, which is straight stitch only. And I've only got my Bonina out tonight because I fancied maybe I should show you a zigzag rather than using my pink inches. So I'm just drawing on my fabric. And to be honest, if you haven't got a heat erasable pen, just use a regular biro, because we're not going to see these lines. So let me show you. So you can see I've drawn those lines. Sorry if it's a bit dark in here tonight. I've got my lights on, but there we are. So now I'm just going to cut out my pieces, my little windows. I'm going to see if I'm following the pattern. Oh yeah, I am as well. So I'm just cutting these out. Don't be too anxious about this. Now, tell me, has anybody used electric scissors? And if you have, are they any good? Not that I particularly want them, but I'm curious, because some people have trouble cutting out their patterns. I totally get that, But I'm thinking of all the different ways, because cutting a rectangle is easy, isn't it? But if you've used electric scissors, or battery operated scissors I suppose, I wouldn't mind knowing how you get on. Maybe some use their Cricut, or their Cricut Maker. That would probably work, wouldn't it? Because that has a rotary blade in it, I think. I think it's better than some of the other machines about. Gosh, these scissors are blunt. So there we are. So I've cut that out, okay? So that's our shape. So, oh, Lynn says, I can see electric scissors running away with me. Yeah, I totally get that. Lynn. So now we're going to put the zip in. So I'm going to change to my zipper foot. And what you're doing is right side onto the right side of your zip. So if we have a look at the zip, this right side's up because there's your little slider, and I'm going to move it out of the way. Please obviously be careful that you don't take it off the end. And then it's right sides down, okay? Right sides down. And I'm just going to use my quilting clips to hold it there. Okay. And because this is just a single layer, oh my gosh, it's so easy. So easy. Okay, so there's my quilting clips. And the reason why I've cut this zip longer, it means that if I need to move the slider up to this end and out of the way, I can, or that end. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is put my zipper foot on my machine, and I'm going to stitch along here. Now your zipper foot will hug the teeth, okay, so it won't do anything nasty or dangerous. It's not frightening. You've just got to follow it, and to be perfectly honest, it naturally wants to sit against the teeth of the zipper foot. It really does. It's super. So I'm going to change my foot, so I'm going to bring the machine in. Let me bring it in. I've got to slide over a bit so you can see. Take my foot off, and because this is a Bernina, these are quite nice, easy feet to change. And my needle is sitting really in the wrong place. It's sitting right in the centre. So you need to use your needle. You might have a zigzag button that you can press, or you might have a needle position button that you can press. And I can move my needle right over. Okay, so it goes in the right place. I'm hoping you can see that okay. So all I'm going to do is follow the edge of my zipper teeth. I'm just going to move that slider a little bit. I'm obviously going to remove my clips because although I put them in, I don't actually need them. So then we're just going to start stitching, okay? I've got my stitch length still on 3, so I'll take it down a bit. And then we're just following the line of the zip, okay? And it's just lovely and smooth. So different from using my Juki. It's quite fun, really. So all the way along, let's not muck about, let's get on with it. And right to the end, look, I can almost do it no-handed. Lift your needle up, foot up, and there we are. There's our zip installed on one side. And if I was to flip that over, you can see it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Okay, so at this point, if you're following me now, I want you just to trim some of this fabric away, okay? Because I don't want you to see, oh, bit of nesting, never mind. I don't want you to see this raw edge along here, okay? So if I do it that way, there's the raw edge. I don't want you to see any of that necessarily. And what you could do is zigzag all of that. So it joins the two pieces of fabric together. But we're going to top stitch. I think I top stitched on mine, yeah. Sometimes I can't remember what I do. So I've trimmed it back. Oh, let's have a look. Beth says from Facebook, I used electric scissors years ago. I cut everything with them. My sewing stopped for many years, and when I went back, the rotary cutters were in fashion. What a time I had trying to master the rotary. Electric scissors were so much easier for cutting out clothing, much easier. Good. I love your feedback, Beth. So I folded that over. That's all I've done is folded it over, and I'm going to top stitch along there. And I'm actually going to keep my zipper foot on. I'm going to move the needle though, because at the moment the needle is on the left hand side. I'm going to move it over to the right. It's just, I don't know, I find that easier. Oops. As long as you've got your needle up, you'll be fine. And I personally, I don't like these type of zipper feet. If you've got a wider one, much better, truly. Yeah, truly. So I'm going to see how I get on, because I would have used my Juki to make my original one. So let's see. It's not too bad. To be honest, I would have much preferred to have used my Juki. And you wanted this for zigzag. It's not, it hasn't done a brilliant job because I couldn't get really close. But I like my top stitching to be super, super tiny. And 1/16 of an inch perhaps away. This is about 1/8 of an inch. So let me just trim it. And let me show you. Can you see? So it's not too bad. But when you look at the original, I did that with my Juki. And you see the difference. Amazing, isn't it? Okay, so we've done that. We've neatened that. Look, you can't see the raw edges. You can see the nesting, but if I put my thumb over it, you can't see it now. So that's gone, isn't it? It's like a magic trick. It's gone. It's gone. So now we need to do the other side, okay? So it's right sides together again. So we've got the zip in one hand. We're just going to whip that short end up to here. The one thing you need to do is to get your edges level, okay? So this is the other side, the other end. I'm bringing it over, popping it over the top of my zip teeth there. And I just want to make sure that it's level with my other piece. If it's out by 1/4 of an inch, don't worry. Do not worry. So now I'm going to move my needle across to the left again. It may seem like a bit of a faff, and you could, if you wanted to, make sure it goes through the hole okay. You could, if you wanted to, just keep it there and just stitch it in a different way. Perhaps we'll do that when we do this one, so you can see what a mess I make of it. So again, obviously you're going to clip yours, pin yours, secure yours. Use quilting tape. Hey, have you discovered quilting tape yet? Oh my gosh, we should have used it, shouldn't we? How silly am I? Because then you'd see how fantastic it is. So, all the way along, hopefully you can just about make out what I'm doing here. Needle up. Let's take it out of the machine. And you can see straight away, let's just get rid of some of that. But I've done that seam just as I did before, but I'm going to cut it away just like I did before, okay? So let's cut that away. Quite, it's about 1/8 of an inch, I suppose. But you could, if you wanted to, you could zigzag that and neaten it up. But with a top stitch, it's going to sort of fold that over and it's going to cover it really. So now we've got this, and we've got to try and top stitch. But don't forget, we have our friend on the outside. And this is why having a longer zip really works, because I can now open it here, okay, pull that down. Do you remember me saying about having that a little bit longer, that end as well? Be careful. If you're worried, stitch over the ends of that and that'll stop your slider from coming off. But now I've opened that up, I can now top stitch that beautifully with no interference. And when I get down here, trust me, you'll be able to get down there with no problem at all. Okay, so sorry, you just missed that bit. But I'm going to stitch all the way down to the bottom. And by opening up that zip and making sure that my zip slider is tucked off the end, it makes it such an easy job, look. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Oh no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to move my needle. I'm not that brave. I'm moving my needle over to the right. So let's get it under the machine. And you know what? It's really lovely to do these little projects. Honestly, I've had so much positive feedback from everybody, and I thank you for that, because it's just so nice that people appreciate what you've done and say thanks, and I know you do, but also I like to see the pictures. Now look, be careful. We're coming close to that, and just to try and stop that from coming off the end, I'm putting a safety pin across there. If you've got a smaller one, do it. But look, that's going to stop my slider coming off, just in case the pressure of me pulling all of this takes that slider off, okay? You may not have mastered the trick of putting a zip slider on yet, so... Okay, let's go. Let's do it. So I'm coming right pretty much up to the end. I'm about 1/8 of an inch away. I'm not bothered about that because I'm stitching that bit. So let's just snip our threads. Okay, so let's just get that slider a little bit more safely inside. So there we are, look. So you can see, oh gosh, I do like a machine that cuts threads because I wouldn't have all these tails here. So what we need to do now is we need to put our tabs in here. So if you remember, we need a tab one end and we need a tab the other end with our swivel in. You don't have to do that bit. You don't have to do the tabs, but quite honestly, it's quite nice to have a tab that you can then pull the zip. You've got this one's holding on, and then when you want to close it, you've got a tab and you can pull the zip, and it just, you got, you know, a bit of pressure there. So it's quite good to have them. So you could think about which end you're going to have your clip and how you think you want it to be. Oh, I don't know. Crikey, what do I know? It's going to open up like that. It's going to open up like that. Maybe I'll have my swivel clip up this end, maybe, because it closes from top to bottom. Maybe, I don't know. Is that the right way? Who knows? So let me get my little tabs. Where are they? Here they go. I'm going to change my foot. Phew. Don't forget to put your needle back in the middle. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my tab over the top of my zip. Okay, there's my zip, there's my tab. And I'm going to stitch straight across just to hold my tab in place. Because if you didn't, you'd have to pin it or use a clip and it's going to get in the way. So let's just stitch it. It's just a bit of basting, all right? So let's do it. Keep it less than 1/4 inch if you can. If you can't, don't worry. Now look, coming over your teeth of your zip, I want you to be respectful of your machine, okay? I want you to think, oh my goodness me, that poor machine's got to go over all those teeth. So take your time, don't push your luck, let's put it that way. It should easily, it's moved a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that. Trim your zip off at this stage. Okay, all those dreadful loose threads, I can't bear it. It could have been slightly better, but I'll ignore it. If you're using a zip with metal teeth, then I want you to hop over the teeth, okay? I want you to hop over. I don't want you to stitch on those teeth. Secure it this side, secure it that side, but don't stitch. To be honest, with a metal zip, you could get the needle through between the teeth, but you know what? I wouldn't bother. It's you know, a little tiny gap is not going to make any difference. I just don't want you to struggle. So with this one, we've got to make sure that this end, we've got to make sure that our teeth are together. Now, if you think this is going to move when you stitch them now. You could even do a hand stitch, a hand tack there, just to hold it if you want to, or you could just pop it under the machine, bring the two sides of the teeth together, and I always push them together, okay? So I've got my hands in my hand in a position where I'm pushing with one and I'm pulling back, and I'm just making sure that those teeth stay together. And I think that's down to your confidence, and I think it's a good idea. I'm not cutting my tail yet, okay? I'm not cutting my tail yet. Honestly, please, if you have to get a new machine, get one with a with a thread cutter. So don't trim your zip yet, okay? All we've done is stitched along there just to secure. So now it's going to stay where it should do. And what I can do is I can put my other little tap over the top, and now I can stitch that on so it's fixed. All right, so that's what I'll do. I'll just move my machine a little bit and just make sure you don't machine anything else. So tell me, are you enjoying the Making It Mondays? I think everybody is, from the feedback I've seen. I will keep on doing them for as long as. Again, that one's shifted, look. You want to make sure it doesn't shift. But I am doing this sideways. Yeah, let me know. Let me know. And if there's something in particular that you'd like to see in a little pattern, a nice simple pattern, then please tell me and we'll see if I can design something. Because everything is done from scratch, everything. So like I say, that could have been slightly over. but I am doing this. You can see from the side angle how I'm stitching. So look, there we are. Isn't it gorgeous? And of course we haven't finished yet. So if you refer to the pattern, we need to stitch these sides together now. So right sides together. So you need to turn this through. Now everything is secure now. That zip is not going anywhere. It's not going to slide off. It's fine. Okay, it's fine. So you can push through as much as you like. All these ends everywhere. Oh, goodness gracious me. And all you're doing is bringing the two sides together. So if I show you the neat end. Now make sure you don't get that hardware in the way either. So we're stitching across this end and this end. Okay? Okay. So let's do that. I'm going to move it a little bit better for me. Hopefully you're okay. So we're doing 1/4 inch thereabouts, and I will say thereabouts because in my house there's no rules unless you've got a nice little glass of sherry for me, in which case I'll have it, and that's the rule. So right across to the bottom we'll do a little reverse stitch, okay, and then take it out of the machine. Cut our threads nicely. So that's one edge done, look. So I've just stitched along here, and we're going to zigzag that. I haven't zigzagged for ages. Now we're going to do the other side. So a little back stitch. Now of course what you could do is enlarge this pattern, and I have seen that in the group, and I can't remember who did it, but they enlarged the pattern by I think it was 110%, 115%, and they made them in all sorts of different sizes, because obviously this is a pattern that you'll have recognised from, you know, YouTube, wherever, and of course you have, but it's quite a sort of common design. But I've made it mine by changing things slightly, doing the quilting, that sort of thing. So quite met there, but I'm not too worried. So now I'm going to zigzag across here. Now you could, if you wanted to, just trim that down a little bit, and don't use your best scissors like me, otherwise you get through loads of scissors you shouldn't need to. And then we're going to zigzag. So let's just have a little look on my machine. I've no idea if that's going to be right. Now look, if you're at all worried about your zigzag, the stitch length, the stitch width, do try it on a piece of scrap fabric first and see how you get on. But I'm just going to go for it. I've no idea. Oh, it's perfect, I think. It's quite a nice thing to do. If you've got an overlocker or a serger, oh for goodness sake, get it out of the box and use it. They're the most amazing things. And it does make a professional finish, but you cannot go over the zip teeth with it, so you'll have to skip over that, but otherwise that's not bad. So let's do the other side. Just be careful going over those zip teeth. Just be respectful of your machine. There we go. And again, I've never cut so many threads in my life. I was going to use this for a video tomorrow, and I'm not going to now. It's just driving me crazy. So, can you see I've zigzagged the top of that? Not too bad. So now make sure you've got your zip open, guys. Okay, if you haven't got your zip open, you're going to be in big bother very soon. So all you're going to do is pop your hand in there, and you're going to squeeze both those all four corners. You're just going to squeeze them, and you're just going to put the middle of one side, one edge, the middle of one edge to the centre of your seam there. Try and get that fairly accurate, and just sort of squidge it about a bit until you've got it accurate. And to be perfectly honest, the inside points, if you like, should be pointy. Okay, that inside should be pointy like that. And we're just going to, excuse me, we're going to do 1/4 inch on there. So put your machine back to straight stitch. And by now you'll feel, oh, I suppose I better do a back stitch. I didn't, but I should have done. By now you will feel the quilting. You'll feel how solid it is, which is fantastic. Now I'm just going to go over that first bit again because I didn't do a back stitch. So we'll do that because we want it to be secure. Although a zigzag will do that. Okay. So let's just do that and try and, I'm going to have to go back afterwards and trim all these away. I'm sorry if I'm boring you, keep saying that, but they drive me potty. Really, they do. So we've done one. Now I'm going to do the other. So you just put your finger in or come in through here and just sort of get those points of those corners and flatten it out so it looks like that. So your seam, the other side, is dead centre, okay? And you should have nice corners here. So let's do that, and let's do it properly. Let's do a back stitch and try and keep all of your seams the same width, because otherwise it will alter things slightly. It's such a nice little project. It would be a shame if it didn't sit square or rectangle. Okay. And hopefully, if anybody has been stitching along with me, you're keeping up and you've made yours. Maybe. I should think you have, because I go really slowly. I like to think that you could stitch along with me. And if you've got the pattern, you know what comes next. You don't have to wait for me to say, oh, now we're going to do this and now we're going to do that. You've got the pattern, so you know. So this is the last one now. So pop your hand in there. Just get those points out, get your seam right in the middle, and try and get it that your seam on the zip is all, they're both going that way, okay, away from the zip. It'll want to go that way anyway. So let's go across here. What time have we? We've just passed the 8 o'clock. Oh my gosh. I hope I'm not keeping you away from anything now. Well, what I'll do is, I won't zigzag all of these. That'll drive you potty if I do that. There we go. Now what I can do is I can pink these, and when I say pink, just get my super duper pinking shears on them. Be careful when you go over the zip, because obviously all of these have got a zip, or at least a seam. Ooh, tough as anything. Not a zip. I meant to say a seam. Where did I get zip from? So there we are. I've just pinked the edges. You can see what that looks like. Okay. And by some sort of magic trick, we've done. We're finished. Oh my gosh. Let's see if we can turn it through. I've got the weakest of nails at the minute because I haven't been to my nail technician. Oh dear. There we go. So just push your corners out. Push them out, make them super neat. Take time. Take some time. Just push them out. And then if you have zigzagged or overlocked your seams, they will look gorgeous. Oh, I love it already. So there's my little pouchy. Can you see? Isn't that so pretty? And of course I've got my tab here, so I can just pull my zip across. It gets to about there, and then you have to pinch the top and take the rest across. Isn't that lovely? See how boxy it is? See how boxy it is? And that's the sort of thing you want to look at. That's what you want to see. And you could sort of squidge it a little bit. Oops. So we've made two. Made two little pouches. I think that looks fab. I'm really pleased with that. Really pleased. So, there we are. They are making it Monday 19, and it's Little Poppy. Sweet little name for a sweet little pouch. And I think you're going to love it because it's such a lovely size. And of course you could put your quilt clips in here, so I just happen to have a few handy, like you do. I'm going to go back and cut all those threads. I tell you what else you could put in there. I've just realised you could put your feet to your machine if you haven't got too many. Or there's an aeroplane going over. I don't know if you can hear it, but you might want to put your feet for your machine in there, like the zipper foot. You know, things that you use quite a lot. And then because it's such a little pouch, that'll hang from your machine. So if you've got a bobbin winder handy, well, you can't see it now, just a minute. You can see it can hang. Obviously you don't want too much weight on there, be sensible. I'm just showing you that for fun. So there we are. That is Making It Monday 19. Now, so let's just run through a few things. So first of all, if you don't subscribe to me on YouTube, hop over to YouTube and subscribe. It's always great because I'm always uploading videos and we have super fun. And every Monday, of course, we're live, which is fab. Join in. If you want to post your makes, go to the Making It Monday ! Group and join there. Anybody can join as long as you're not a business. It rejects businesses. And you can post the pictures of things that you've made. So when I come off here, I'm rather hoping there's going to be some of the projects made and I can have a little look-see. And actually I do get ideas, like the lady that enlarged it and made it hers, because once you enlarge it, it becomes your design all of a sudden, doesn't it? Fantastic, fantastic. I love that. It's great if you've got your own photocopier or perhaps a scanner that you can do that with. Amazing. All I ask is that you don't sell the patterns because they take me a long time to do for you. So that is the Making It Monday. That is the Project 19, and that's Poppy. So hopefully you've got that in your stash now, and you can keep referring to it and make a few of these. Is that the only business? I think so. If you're interested in my gold group, which is that's there. We always welcome new members to our gold group, and that will cost you a little bit of money. It's £5 in the UK, but our ladies, they get 3 patterns every month for free with that membership. And this week on Thursday we have Sarah Payne join us in the group for a demonstration and a chat. She's going to talk to us about all things that she's been getting up to, and it's just purely in the group. Nobody else will ever see it except the group members, so that's fun. So apart from that, I'm done. I'm sorry if I've kept you a little bit late, so I do apologise for that. But it's always fun to see, and it's lovely to read all your comments. If you sent me any stars, I will not have looked at the screen at all. So if you sent me any stars, thank you very much indeed. They always go into a little pot, a bit like saving for a rainy day pot. And I thank you very much for that. And I try to go through and thank everybody afterwards. And I hope I don't miss any of you. So there we are. So I will go now and leave you in peace. I've got my sherry here ready to have a little slurp when we've done. And I'll see you again on next week. And then, of course, it's going to be our Easter, isn't it, the following week? To think about that one. But we've already got our carrots and we've already got our little Easter bunny bag, haven't we? So you can start making those for your loved ones. If you don't have any loved ones, keep them for yourself and pop loads of chocolate in there. Anyway, I'm going to switch off now. I hope you've had a fun evening. It's been absolutely super to see you all, and lovely to read your comments. It's been absolutely super. I'm going to put a finish on the video now, so I'm going to see you again next week. Bye bye everybody. Bye.